Okay, good morning, everybody. What we're going to do is continue what we started in lab class earlier this week. If you recall, let me show you our progress. This is called the 3D map. This is part of a much larger project. I don't want to make it sound like it's a big project. It's just several steps. And it's really all not that difficult. And it actually might be a little bit fun to kind of construct and to build. But like always, we have a few steps. And so far, we've done quite a few. We've got a few steps out of the way. And as you can see my progress, you should probably be at the same point. If you missed lab for whatever reason, or you kind of came in late, kind of catch up and get to this point. Remember some of the rules. When drawing isolines, they never cross. When drawing isolines, they're usually typically pretty smooth. We never make them really like straight or blocky or angular, sort of more curvy. They follow similar paths, like parallel. I use that term loosely, meaning they kind of have similar shapes to them, and that's about it. And then finally, they go off the page. That's almost every single one of mine sort of just goes off the map. It is assumed that at some point they'll form a closed loop, but our map is just not big enough to show that. So we've done the 100, the 200, the 300, the 400. Lucky for you, we didn't have to do every single little contour line like the 20s and 40s and 60s and so on. We're just doing and sticking to the basic or the boldface larger intervals. And those are called the index contours. So let me start off, and I'm going to do the 500. I'm going to pick the orange color here, and I'll start here because I already have it pre-drawn. So like I did before, I'm going to trace over what was already done. Remember, draw your line in between a value that is higher and lower. I see 580. And I see a 380 over in the distance, but I also now have a 400 line, and I do know that that still is lower than 500. So lower is the 400, higher is 580. Let's draw it between there. 550, 470, and off the page. Again, follow that same logic. 420, 520, right in the middle of those two. Actually, no, probably closer to 520, I'm sorry, but not right in the middle, but in between those two. 430, 540, 480, 550, 490. So it's coming pretty close to that. There is a 500 right there. Notice that I'm keeping all of the values that are lower than 500 to the outside of my loop. When I say loop, I mean this sort of enclosed area right here. All the numbers that are bigger or larger than 500 stay inside this closed area or loop. So that's your 500 line. Up here, there's one more 500 to go. Here, there's no pre-drawn, so I have to kind of find a starting point. It's going to come off the page, or really off to on, and then back off again. Okay. So again, where should I start it? Well, if you look at some numbers, look again, as we always have done, look for numbers that are larger and smaller than 500 if I don't have a 500 to start with. And I don't have a 500, but I'm going to start not on the 510. That would not make sense either, but pretty close, because 500 and 510 are pretty close. Again, weave or navigate your line in between numbers that are higher and lower. 470 is lower, 540 is higher. 430 is lower, 550 is higher. And I'm going to start doubling back. There's a 500. And off the page. We've got one more to go. That isn't to say that we're done completely, but we're at least done with phase one. I'm going to show you the continuation of phase one, and then I'm going to get you into phase two, which is not that difficult. You probably even get yourself into phase three. Okay, let's do the 600. Let me pick another color here. I'm going to go with, just going to go with black. Okay. The 600, again, notice how they're also getting smaller. What does that mean? Like their numbers are going up. That's elevation. And it kind of should make sense to you. We're seeing the peak of a mountain. And so the area is becoming smaller and smaller. We're getting to a peak. So the numbers are going up. The area is getting less. We're getting closer and closer to the tip tops of these peaks. 600 comes off the page. There's a 600 right there. And it's going to go right back off to on, back off again. I drew my line between numbers that are higher and lower. All numbers inside of all of these closed areas are larger than what I've drawn. I've drawn a 600. Inside, if you notice, I have 690 and 620. Notice I have 600 on the line. Notice that I have 550, 540, 550 outside of the 600. So again, those are those little rules that you should be aware of whenever you draw these lines. Keep bigger numbers to one side of the line, keep smaller numbers to the other side of the line. We're not done. You do see a 600. I'm going to trace over this one here. There's actually 3 pieces of 600. And I am drawing on a computer with a mouse, so it's not perfect, but with your pencil, you can be a little bit more detailed. You do not have to trace over the ones that are pre-drawn, but I'm doing that for your sake. All right, I've got one final one, and we're done with this phase. Okay, it's going to come off the screen or off the page and curl through numbers that are lower and higher. 600 is greater than 550, but less than 610. It's greater than 580, less than 610. There is a 600 right here waiting in the wings for me. Let's tape it to there, and let's go off the page. I went between 530 and 620. That is the completion of phase 1. Look for the next video clip to share with you how to do the next phase, phase 2. All right, we'll see you then.